1 minute to 11 o'clock, the 18th of October 2024. Remember the date, folks. A somber night in Oriel Park, season 4, episode 36. We are busting at the gut with the absolute A team tonight. And considering the season that we've had, the night that we've had the last couple of weeks, we're even going to bring in Donald Whiskey Shaker Hanks as well. Lads, we knew it was coming. Look, we were hoping for miracles. We were, even up as 2 games ago, we were thinking a lot of people had the inevitable down, but I mean, it's I sit in the stand myself, and it's nothing like, there's nothing like watching people who've sat in the stand, season tickets, whatever it is. Look, it doesn't matter what kind of ticket you have, but we were there till probably 10 after 10 o'clock, and Chris, obviously you were there later, but it was just this kind of, it wasn't even annoyance, was it? It's just a somber, it's a sad evening, when you consider, it's not like it's 40 years ago since we played first division football, but when you consider where we've come from and the heights we've reached, and we now find ourselves not just being relegated, we're way off the pace, in terms of Premier Division this season. And yeah, it's hard to sum it up, isn't it? As you can tell by all the blank expressions. Just anybody jump on there, boys. We leave Donald to last, because Donald's going to come up with humdingers. We leave him to last.
I thought he was directing that at Chris, so yeah, like, to go out on a damn squib is just totally deflating. Like, even when you go back to that chance that Gullen had, you're sort of thinking, just give us some. Maybe it's the hope would have been even worse, but yeah, to just go out on a damn squib, like, and we've 2 games now to try and get through, knowing you're already down, and then you have to obviously go to backways land, already gone, like, so yeah, it's a tough one to take. The highs of the highs we went to, and now it seems like we're rock bottom, and to be honest, I think it's, if possible, a chance now to just rebuild the football club. It's going to have to be totally stripped down to its bare bones, and then get the solid foundation, hopefully, if we can, and build from there. But yeah, look, it's just, I think, looking at John Mountney, probably summed it up. You don't need words if you've seen him at the end, and I think he's been a massive part of the club, like the rest of us, through it all. So yeah, it's tough to watch when the players are that emotional about it. So
I think you're right, like, Steph. It's how far we have been, the heights that we got to, makes the fall even harder. I think there was a sense of inevitability at one stage there near the end, and we knew the day was going to come that we finally fell through that trapdoor, and I think the only thing, the performance wouldn't inspire you as much as the reception that the players got at the end, from the shed and from the main stand. And like you just said, you can see it on John Mountney's face. He was inconsolable at the end. He didn't want to be the captain to bring this team down, and it hurt him, and he understands what this club means to the town and stuff like that. Like, you don't have to explain it to him, and you just see him and Daryl Horgan were front and center for it all. It gives you hope that something may be able to be built on in the new year. But like, I'm sure we'll get to the discussion later on. But what is that is a completely another conversation, So it's hard to take. Definitely, it was like being at a wake at the very end. I felt there, people were kind of hugging each other and stuff, and kind of hard to take, and people not knowing what to say to each other.
The wake is exactly what I was going to say. That it was like the slow inevitability for like the last few months anyway, that we knew this was coming, and it was just one of those, like, I think the reality of what we were watching tonight was pretty sobering. Ironically, I'm saying sobering while drinking whiskey, but it was a rough night. But it's a rough night at the end of our kind of extremely rough season, an extremely rough year, and like in lots of ways. But I think there's there's been moments throughout the year, like on the pitch and off the pitch, that would, I guess, will live long in the memory for like the importance of those events and how the fans pulled together, how we had some big performances even this season. Like it's just really hard to take then tonight when it's like finally comes to the end. I don't have any humdingers or jokes or anything. It's just too upsetting. But the one thing I will say is at least we have two of our favourite teams left at the end of the season to fucking play against. Sorry, I've cursed already, but yeah, it's just
fuck it.
It's just it ends in one way. It ends tonight, and then we have hell for a couple of weeks with the last two games. But I guess if we're going to go out of existence, can we go out of existence for the last two games so we don't have to play those two?
Don't put us through it. Don't put us through it.
Yeah, nobody wants those two games. Come on.
And that is probably like, I'm thinking of all Captain Positive from Steph and all the things we've been mentioning with positivity. Yes, it's relegation, but considering what's gone on over the last couple of weeks, off the club, off the pitch, behind the scenes, you would take first division. I was talking to Jerry Curtis there, well on the Dog fan. You would take that. You say, right, well, let's go a year. If it has to be a year, it has to be two. Look, we don't know, but at least if you have a club to come back to, that's the main thing. If we're coming to pre-season games in February, then that's what we're looking for. It was so close to not even. We're so close to not even going to games tonight. Even the last couple of weeks, Sligo away. These games were they were teetering on the edge for days and weeks leading up to it. So on a positive kind of, we can end the podcast now after 11 and a half minutes, but, at least we have something, or we hope to have something to come back to, whether it's first division. It doesn't really matter at this stage. Once we've got something to come up and support, we've obviously got the buzz behind the scenes with the trust meeting next week, and we'll probably have a quick chat about that as well, but it could be a lot worse. I mean, yeah, look, it's the inevitable has come to pass. We probably hung on, or we'll be talking about it since 4 or 5 games into the league, but we didn't think we'd probably get to this stage. But like you said, Chris, at the start, it's it could be something for the good. It could be a year. We don't know, but it's dire now. But I mean, in the long term, we were hoping for a really quick 2025 season, and we're back. But look, we just don't know what's to come. We're still, the next couple of weeks are still up in the air. What's going to happen with the actual club itself? So, I think relegation is probably the least of our worries at the minute, isn't it? Really, like when you break it down and kind of have a proper think about it, the fact that we're able to still even play the next 2 games, I suppose, even though we don't want to play them, that's probably the main thing at the minute.
Yeah, I think the uncertainty of the current situation with the club is probably the biggest worry for fans right now, because if it was just that we were facing relegation, we were in the first division, and we were had a bit of stability in the ownership situation, I think we'd be kind of thinking, okay, we just need to do a reset in the first division, get ourselves back in line where we should be. We kind of went a bit chaotic there with the credit union money. Now let's settle back down again and get ourselves right again. But we're still unclear. When John Temple came in, he said he would evaluate the club at the end of the season and look at its viability. We still don't know what that viability is. Is there a club even at the end of all of this? Does John Temple want the club at the end of this? Are we looking at another owner? There's just so many questions. That's the real scary thing. Yeah. And the big question in the room is there a Dundalk Football Club after these next 2 games? Is it going to be something completely different out of it? And that's not scaremongering or anything. That is a genuine question right now, is are we going to have that? And that's what Dundalk fans need to be really, really concerned about. And that needs to be front and center over these next few weeks when the season is finishing, is what does this club look like? Yeah. Is there a club there?
Yeah.
And I certainly don't have any answers to that.
I've got one.
And that's the thing, Steph. Like we don't know. Like, I mean, you get messages the odd time. You're like, you might be out in the street, you might be out talking, you run into someone, whatever it is, Atlanta. What do you think? We don't. Nobody seems to know. It seems to be real. I don't know if it's cloak and dagger. I don't know, but it seems to be real. Not secretive, I suppose, but there just seems to be nothing coming down the line. Nothing seems to be in a mad. I don't want to say there's not a mad panic, but John Tapp was at the game tonight. Seems to be there was a fire sale in the shop during the week for gears. There's rumours of more gear, but like we just don't know what's coming. This could all be helter skelter stuff for the next couple of weeks, which is typical Dundalk around Christmas time. But we just don't know if there's going to be an actual unit to be there next year for the First Division, and that's the real worrying thing. It's I don't know if we're better off hearing rumours or hearing no rumours. I don't know what's worse. I'm hoping that we're treated like no news is good news, but I don't know, Steph. What do you think?
Yeah, well, look, the last couple of years we've been used to not hearing any statements or anything from the club, not much anyway. So we're sort of in the dark, and that always creates the uncertainty of everything.
Sorry.
No.
I get you back.
Yeah, the big extra long comment from Jonto. So, but yeah, like, look, I think like it's a small town like Dundalk. Everyone seems to want to know. Yeah. Everyone seems to know everything about everything. So, or they want to be the first to tell somebody else some piece of news. And sure, you know how someone picks that up and just takes it down the road with them and adds a wee bit on. And so, look, it's a total. But I think Chris is right. Like, I think everyone really needs to be awake to this, because I think people will just take for granted that the football club will be there next season. And, when you see the financials coming out for the end of 2023, you're extremely worried. But then, there's still a full year to add on to that. And I'm sure we haven't made money this year. So you can add money onto that pile as well. So yeah, it's totally worrying. I think obviously we had Brendan Ogle on during the week to talk about the trust public meeting. So look, even if you're not involved or you can't be involved in it, just go down for the information. And if you can't get involved in the trust, then I'm sure there's other ways that you can help out, like make sure the club's in the right place. So that's all we can do at the minute. We can just, I suppose, sit tight. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks and months probably, and you're going to hear everything from, a new Saudi owner coming in to take over the club to we're out of business tomorrow morning, and it'll be just. I know to say the off season in the League of Ireland silly season, but it's usually transfers. It's not usually, what we're going to be talking about, which is pretty grim. Like, you'd nearly just take the relegation if you knew. Well, I think we said it a couple of weeks ago. You'd take the relegation, like you'd grab your hand, bite the hand off somebody for a relegation and start in the First Division if it actually meant you were going to have a football club next season. Because I think the real worries are there for me anyway. I don't think they've gone away.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it from a football point of view, like I said, like we sat here, we probably sat. Mark Carlin mentioned that what season are we on, boys? 4. We're on our 4th season.
4. Yeah.
When was the last time we won a trophy?
Yeah.
We done
the President's Cup.
Oh, that's it. We got off to a banger. We got actually off to a banger that night.
Sunday
it was very plain sailing after that.
Just since I came on.
No. There's been a spiral before. Don't worry.
But even if you look at we can talk. We just got to talk about the actual football. Like, when you look at everything across the board, the games we've played, the games we've won, the lack of games we've won, the games we've lost, the goal difference, everything. It just never, no matter what kind of system was played, players were brought in, and there's been some decent players brought in with John Daly. Obviously we've had a lot go kind of started with Scott High early in the season injuries. You nearly forget Bradshaw. You nearly forget it's been that long of a season. You nearly forget these boys played for the club at one stage.
They're all banging in goals now, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and it's regardless of the off the field stuff. players not being paid, managers not being paid, but the team itself as a whole all season just simply weren't good enough. And that, there obviously was money available when they signed. It's not like, this was after a couple of weeks, there was no money. They obviously signed their contracts or whatever, but just as a whole, as a football and, season, it's been really, we've been in games, like Donald said, we've had some decent games, but when you look at the rest of the league, as a unit, we've been so far off the pace, in games, like many games we've gone behind. You even take tonight's game, like Donald said, before we started, it's one of them games again where we could have actually been level at half time, probably should have been. And on another day with a bit of luck, we probably are. Look at the Derry probably turn on the hot water in the second half. But it's just been a on the field awful season. Like, considering the players that we've brought back in, the contracts that have been signed. We talk about the keeper issue. We've lost Shelby. Like, if you get George Shelby early in the season as well, that started the ball rolling and all that. We lost 2 centre backs, Zach Johnson. Nothing seemed to go right. And when we did have it half right, we were still not up to it. We weren't at the level required to stay in the league. Like, when a team like Drogheda are finishing so far above you, and that's no disrespect to Drogheda, like, man for man, they're not miles ahead of us, but we just never got going the whole season, did we?
Disrespect them. It doesn't, like, who cares?
Who cares? No, we're not the same division.
Whatever. Yeah, well, they're not out of the woods yet. Someone has to go to that playoff. Who knows? Who knows? We could be in there. They could be in there with us next year. There's been plenty of times where I think the tiniest little bit of quality would have got us out of situations. And we've amazingly, like, our run of form isn't miles off Shells, and Shells league. It's only just we got off to such a bad start that we got ourselves in such a hole at the beginning of the season that we couldn't get out of it. And we started to pick up a few results, started to get better performances, and then we had that, like, mid-season clear out that we lost to Zacks and lost Archie, and we just never really recovered from it. And I don't know whether it's like a kind of a microcosm of the whole season that we took a body blow and just couldn't recover. Because you're looking at tonight's game, and I'd say everybody made the same joke as soon as Derry scored. They're like, well, we may as well go home. We're done. We don't have to fight to get back into this. But, like, I don't know how many times we've been saying, like, there's nobody that's come to Oriel and blown us away. Like, apart from the first couple of weeks of the season, we've been in most games, but we just don't have the quality to make a chance and take a chance and then, stay ahead. So I think that's part of what makes it so depressing, that I know we're getting relegated and our run of form is so bad that, the table doesn't lie and all that crack. But I think it's disappointment in the rest of the teams that have come to Oriel that none of them have made us look like we're the worst team in the league. Like, it's just a strange one. And it's, almost forget, like, how much stuff has actually happened in the season, like, with owners and managers and players leaving. Like, you forget some of the names that were here at the start of the season. Except if you're watching Soccer Saturday, they'll pop up at some place that he'll score twice for Yeovil or somebody. But it's just a strange season. Like, and we're obviously talking about how going into next year, it's obviously important that we have a club, and I think it's obviously going to look completely different next season than it does now. So, like, none of these players will be around. Well, maybe somebody will, but you'd expect a massive clear out, and we'll be looking at a completely new set of players, new staff, new everything next year, provided we have a club at all. But I think I mentioned at the start, like, there's been moments this season, I'm thinking of particularly the stuff off the pitch, that has proved how big this club is and how important this club is, and how it means more than the football. It means more than the results on the pitch to people. And I think that's the kind of thing you see with John Metney tonight. Like, this relegation hurts everybody, obviously, but this is a really, really special football club and a special place. And we are obviously sort of preconditioned to stuff like this because these kinds of things have happened to us before. It's not like we've never been relegated. It's not like we've never been through this. But I don't know. I don't want to say that this is partly what makes this place special, this club special, that these things happen to us. So maybe just get back up and go back into the Premier League and go and win a cup or win a league or something in a few years. But, like this is an important and special football club, and we've proven over the season off the pitch, not so many times on the pitch, but the odd time on the pitch. But I think it's just important to remember, like everyone needs to remember that, and like it's obviously, like we said already, it's not, we don't have a divine right to have a football team. There's plenty of places around the country that would love a football team that don't have one, and that we have to really, really count our blessings that we have this incredible football club on our doorstep, and we have to make sure that it's still there next season. And yeah, the trust meeting on next week, even if you're not fully in agreement with it, even if you have questions, even if you're, you know, suspicious or whatever it is, to just go and talk to people, because the worst thing for people to do at this stage is to sit at home because I don't like this person, or I don't agree with this. We have to have these conversations now. Like, we have to get ourselves sorted out so that we might not agree with what happens from now on, but we all have to come together and get behind whatever happens next. Because this is just, it's too important of a place, too important of a thing to have just disappear. I'm going to just go back to the whiskey now. You can just chat amongst yourselves. I've done my bit.
Even as a, like, if we take the football, I know we were talking football, like, but even if you look at the league as a whole, I know we're talking about this probably since the first couple of games, but I was just racking up the points. Like, from a maximum of 108 points, Shelbourne could win the league with 63. You know, like, it's mad. Like, there's only, like, if we were to go, for talk's sake, if we were to go and win our last two matches, we'll finish on 31. They'll only finish 32 points ahead of us. And I know it's only a 10-person league, but, like, it's, as a whole, the league hasn't been great. The points aren't there for teams. But, like, it's a mad, like, 108 points. Did Kenny get to, like, 97 one year? Like, I don't know if I dreamt that. Did I don't know what the numbers were. I know it's a different era.
Someone put up the thing of Declan Devine's point totals from last season.
Yeah.
It was 50 something.
Yeah.
And it could win the league.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like it's like, and I know. Look, I don't know if we're just. It's just unfortunate that we've had a season that we've had on the field, and it's just been, you know, poor all over. Really, like, to get a maximum of 63 points and win the Electricity League is, like, as many points. You should need to play 63 games when you cook out the cup and your friendlies and everything. It's mental. But look, that doesn't the fact of where we are. But it's, you know, it's one of them seasons where just nothing. As a spectacle, the League of Ireland hasn't been fantastic as a whole. But look, we've borne the brunt of that, unfortunately. We've just been the poorest of a bad lot, I suppose, just this season. And look, I take them, you know, players that have come in, I think there's some really good quality there. I think there's definitely some players that we possibly need to keep you know, whether we keep the Bensons of the world and the Boyles, I don't know what happens, you know, if somebody comes in for them, I suppose, the Rhino Canes and all this type of thing. But I definitely think there's players there that we could possibly look to keep and build. You know, you'd like to only spend 1 year below, but, you know, we don't know. But I mean, to build something young, hungry team. I like John Curtis. John should have given maybe some of the 19s at once, see what we're dealing with for next season. If the youth academy's still there, if the club's still there, I suppose we're all onto that factor. But it's an option then for John Daly and Graham Kelly to look at it. And it's whether, you know, they stay on, whether they, I know there's a comment in there about John Daly not being. I actually think it could work. I actually think to keep John on, I don't see why you wouldn't. But then again, whether he'd want it or not, I don't know. But he's got a young, hungry team there. Akiki's a really good player as well. But it just, as a whole of it, the season as a full unit just wasn't. It's not a great league anyway. But we've just been really. I'm probably being nice and biased saying unfortunate. It can't be unfortunate. It's just we've been a poor entity of 9 other bad entities this season, I think, and we've just come unstuck. And, you know, I commented on draw and stuff. Look, I don't really care who we're playing. We're still first division. It doesn't really matter who we're down there with. But it's just a somber night. And look, we finished where we finished, and that's you finish where you deserve to finish. Unfortunately, that's just football, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like goals can paper over an awful lot of cracks in teams, and unfortunately we didn't have them. I think we've only scored 23 goals. I don't think Gullin scored at home this season. So, like, you're pinning your hopes on your number 9 getting you out of trouble a good few times in the season, and unfortunately, it just hasn't happened. I think we've talked about it and countless amount of times all season. Like, you know, even tonight, like there was some fantastic crosses and set pieces put into the box, and Mountney was getting on them, but he just wasn't getting the right purchase on them, or they were straight at the goalkeeper. But yeah, like look, there's lots of sliding door moments in games, and that Gullen chance is probably going to give them nightmares for a long while. And when you go 1-1 at home, you just never know, because the crowd seem to be still up for it at that stage. So yeah, like little disappointments like that, just, you know, just set you back the whole time. And unfortunately, just the lack of quality in the end has just probably killed us a lot. Like look, we can go back and say certain players who were doing well for us, like the Zach Johnson was arguably the best player we had. And he goes in July. Scott High looked like he was really promising until he picks up an injury, and then he goes back. McGuckin could have been anything, because we never really seen him. Obviously, he's bags of potential being an under 21 at Northern Irish International. Like, you know, lots of them have all gone on, and like, you know, we're getting sent video clips of them scoring on a weekly basis now, or their names are cropping up on Soccer Saturday. Gally seen them while he's away in the Stag. Everything. So yeah, look, it's everywhere you turn. Even you're away in the Stag, you're getting reminders that haunting you. Like
beautiful reminders.
Yeah,
what could have been.
Yeah, like even Derry coming back to Dundalk tonight, and like Duffy used to play with us, and I don't know, like I'm sure we really, really loved him when he was here, but like you nearly take him for granted when he is here, and then when you see him playing against us there tonight, I just thought he was class. Like you could see, like it'd take an awful amount to get John Mountney to start cramping up or feeling tired, but you could see him out about 70 minutes going. Like he's not that type of character to want to come off, but I'd say he was like, is it 90 minutes yet? Like, so, you know, I thought he was magic, like, you know. But yeah, it's just total disheartening. But like Donald sort of went into a bit of a speech, drumming up the support for the trust and that. But look, every single one of us will have, like, if you talk about your childhood and football memories, like I'm sure there's endless amount you'll talk about being up in Oriel, or you know, going to cup finals, taking your kids to go to cup finals. Sorry, Donald, thank you. We bit before you're off for this time. Unfortunately, we didn't.
It'll happen.
Yeah. It might be a Leinster Senior Cup final, but at this stage. But yeah, like look,
in the Mocktus pitch.
In the Mocktus, yeah, we get them every year, don't we? But yeah, like look, I think, you know, it's hard to fathom, you know, not having an Oriel Park to go to on a Friday night. So yeah, hopefully we get the support for the trust during the week, and hopefully get good news from the football club itself.
I just think the one thing that we were spared tonight was somebody coming off the bench and scoring for Derry. That I think that might have just been a little bit too much for some people to take. I think that, you know, you mentioned Mickey Duffy, but also like he's different class. Like, but it's a reminder of, I was watching him and it was a reminder of where we were, that Darryl Horgan left and we brought in Mickey Duffy after him, and it was like a seamless transition that we kept on winning trophies and stuff. And it is an incredible journey that we've been on for the 10 years, you know. Like, there's a hell of a book in there to like chart the rise and fall of this football club over like the last 10-15 years. It's amazing what's happened to us.
It probably happens too often though, in particular with Dundalk Football Club. But like if you look back at this year, You know, we questioned some of the recruitment at the very start of the year. When Pat Hoobin left, do we have a goal scorer there? Nathan Shepherd wasn't kept back on, you know, came back to the town and stuff, and then was never signed, and what happened there. Then we rolled the dice on the loan market, half of which worked out, half we just didn't get to see the best of those other players. Then there was, you know, the changing of managers and interim managers, and you know, Noel King coming in for a short stay and then back to Burnsy for an interim after that, and then to John Daly, and the turnover of players. Like I'm seeing people saying we used 36 players this year. You know, it's all madness. You think of our keeper situation, the lack of goals, and you know, silly mistakes that we've given up. It's like we need to be honest with ourselves as well, I think, and say if you play like that, this is unfortunately what happens. You know, you can't keep chopping and changing that much and hoping you're going to get something out of it. It doesn't work like that. And I think even if you look at tonight, I think we huffed and puffed, had a couple of chances, but like for the first goal, like how does one of the smallest guys on the pitch win a header from a set piece?
Yeah.
Like that's so disappointing. And you know, from the staff point of view, and they must be scratching their heads again, how the hell is this happening? And then, you know, we give away a sloppy penalty then for the other goal tonight, and you're thinking that just sums us up all season. We had a handful of chances. We're not clinical enough. It goes straight to Brian Maher, you know, for easy catches for him, and I think we'd still be an Oriole and probably not have scored if we were still playing right now. And that's how we've been all season. Like Steph said, we haven't scored enough goals this year. We haven't created enough chances at times in some games. We definitely haven't seen the best of some players as well. And that's been really, really disappointing, because you only get, you know, it goes to show that when you only get this one season, and if you don't perform to the high levels that we expect at Dundalk Football Club, this is exactly what happens. Yeah, there you go, 36 players used in the league. Like that's 24 new faces in. It's crazy. That, you know, you can't do that. You literally can't. You can't make that many changes and expect to be secure and that in the league. And you know, you compare stuff to last year, but who finished bottom the previous year? UCD on 11 points. Like, there's no whipping boys, lads. We said this at the start of the year. There's no easier game this year.
Yeah.
And that's why we had to be on our game the whole year long. And so therefore those points difference and that is then added into the rest of the league. And that's why there's, you know, there's not a whole lot between the bottom teams. And you know, so far this year, between this year and last year, the bottom three teams, there's 16 points in the difference. Like, yeah. And there's still points up for grabs. So we roll the dice on this on the most crucial year. And you know what, from here on out, you think Cork are going to go back up as guaranteed champions next year. So that, and they've got a bit of clout behind them this year. And you know, you think of the strike force that they had and the money they were able to spend and bringing Maguire back in. And they're going to have a significant budget next year as well. So that from here on out, you would say probably the Premier Division, it's very rare you're going to get maybe like a Bray or a Finn Harps or a UCD who aren't at the level of the other full-time teams in the Premier Division. So when you go up now, you have to have your house in order. You have to have recruitment right. Otherwise, you end up in a crazy season like we had this year. And you know, we can rue chances tonight of getting something. But let's face it, if we also had it, it would have been too little, too late for a lot of this as well. Like, you know, like we're huffing and puffing trying to get a draw tonight, and it wouldn't have been enough anyway. Yeah. But we have to take a long look at ourselves and say this, you know, if we're going to go through this turmoil of how we've been as a club, what more do we expect from it? And we have to, as we said in the good times, that this has to be the new way we play, when we were kind of reinventing what a League of Ireland team was under Stephen Kenny, the fitness levels, how late we were going into games and getting winners, and it seemed like nobody else could keep up with us that time. And now this has to be the new low, and this has to be the new part that's unacceptable. We can never be back here again. We can never make all these mistakes off the pitch ever again. This has to be a line in the sand moment for this football club, and say, that's it. Learn from all of these mistakes, because if 1, 2, 3 of these mistakes clip in on the season again, you're absolutely doomed. So let this be a wake-up call for everyone of how not to run a football club. Is exactly what Dundalk Football Club is right now. Chinese proverb, that one, Steph.
Yeah.
I was waiting to bring that up.
I'll have to come back to you on that one. Yeah, like strip it right back down to the bare bones. Get the foundations right. Lay it in nice and solid, and then build up. Because we've been sort of winging it, and we've probably got lucky at certain times that we weren't in more trouble than we were. European football probably bailed us out a good couple of times as well. Might have been the difference between us, being in massive trouble in previous seasons. So yeah, look, I don't think it could get any. It can't really get any lower or more hard to take than that at the minute. It's just trying to see the way out. Galley's pissing himself laughing at Tanner Logan or something. Comment, is he?
David English gets me every time he comments on this podcast. David, you're bad. I'll be able to shop him on.
Tanner Logan, yeah, we might need him next season.
Tell you what,
might get in with us. So, but yeah, look, I think you had touched on John Daly and Graham Kelly and stuff like that. But obviously, we're going to be a part-time outfit, obviously at best. So a lot of them boys are professionals. They rely on that football wage as their income. So
of course,
look, I think it's going to be a big ask to hold on to a lot of them players. I know
on the flip side of that, though, Steph, is if, let's say, somehow Dundalk Football Club stays right as an entity that we currently have it. If you're the management team to turn that around and get us back in there again, you're an absolute hero again.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. There's people who will take that and will see that challenge, but I think right now you're going to have a lot of people sitting back saying, "But what is Dundalk?"
Yeah,
I need to know what it is, because I'm sure, like you just said, John Daly, Graham Kelly, the guys who come in at the latter end of the season, if they knew how batshit crazy everything was going to get, you wouldn't have touched it with a barge pole.
Yeah.
It can't be easy working under the current situation either. But it'd be interesting to see if we can somehow get the house in order, because what it's like being part of that promotion race and getting there, and it can be the making of careers of people, and and it's part of folklore and that of how we went down in Kildare that night. If you can get it, it's worth it. But I think it depends on how Dundalk Football Club it looks as a business, as a limited company, or whatever way you want to put it. That's going to probably dictate everything.
It's also going to be extremely difficult to get out of the first division. Because realistically, you're looking at, like Chris, you were saying, Cork going up. So there's Bows have struggled a little bit. So someone's going to struggle every season. Like say Bows or Sligo or somebody will struggle. But you're pretty much looking at one spot every season, because you can't be guaranteed a first division team going against whoever finishes second last, when it could be Cork or it could be Bows or Sligo or whoever.
But if it's going to get you a playoff.
yeah, like it's
It's crazy
It
as
all
well. Like.
depends if we're down 10, 15 or 20 points starting off the season next year. But look, I wouldn't even be looking at getting promoted.
I don't even mean next season. I just mean like
Yeah.
in general, it's going to be really, really hard to get out of that league from now on.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, I think, look, you have to build it up, and sometimes you see teams yo-yo in a wee bit, but they're probably, some of them teams probably overachieve at times, and then they get themselves in the position where they're in the Premier a couple of seasons ahead of themselves, and then they find themselves really struggling. But look, I think we'd all take a couple of seasons in the first division, as hard as it may be, and you're travelling the length and breadth of the country, for the players to probably play in front of 200 or 300 fans, and go to places that not like you're a big crowd on a Friday night, and then you're going down to, I don't want to disrespect any club, so I'm not going to name any, but you go to certain grounds and there's a couple of hundred there, and little things like that. It's going to take. I think someone mentioned in the comments, I'm not sure who it was, but earlier on in the comments, like the difference from us going down the last time when there was 400 or 450 people at the match to us, going down tonight and there's 2,500 there or whatever it may be. So I think we're in a different place. I just hope we can survive off the field and then see where we're at. You just like to hit a fast forward button now, and you're just starting pre-season, and you have a bit of stability there. You have, your squad building up nicely, and you have something to look forward to, because there's been an awful lot of distractions off the pitch, let's just say, to be kind about it, instead of us, really looking forward to what we're going to do on the pitch, or how we're going to perform. Are we going to match up with certain teams? Like, every week there seem to be one or two different stories, and none of it revolved around first team players or performances, transfers. That was the big disappointment for me. Like, it was hard to get excited about this team, just with all the other distractions going on, and you already knew, like, you're going into the title, like fighting the tide, or whatever phrase you want to put on it, before a ball's even kicked. So yeah, disappointing, but all on the plan to carry next season. Hopefully we can go.
We're struggling for buses, lads. Never mind bloody planes.
You've Kerry, Cove, Wexford, some good spins ahead of the next season. Look, that's
the fans going down the plane. The players will have to hitch it then.
Yeah, we need to get one of those Friday and Monday game weekends, or like different parts of the country.
Long weekend, yeah. 2 or 3 days off work.
That's right. Forget about that.
As we obviously all mentioned off the field stuff, and anybody that's on Twitter land or paying attention, we just to mention, we don't normally kind of get into the tweets or anything, but just a tweet from Dan McDonald, just about 20 past 10. Chris Wilburn, around your time for clocking off, I suppose. I'll just read the tweet. Crazy scenes in Dundalk after final whistle. Rory Higgins interviews interrupted by noise and around the main stands between former owners and staff. I will mention that, I won't read it word for word, but we kind of know that there's, the sole names of Conley mentioned, and Temple, respective parties had to be dragged away, and some other people getting involved. And just to add to this, which just got up in the last half an hour, the initial row seemed to be between our new owner, John Temple, and another group that was in close proximity to Andy Conley. So, I'm not reading anything out of it. This is all on Twitter. I'm not speculating, and this is just what we're reading from Twitter. Chris, you would have been in and around there until probably just after 10:30. This is why we're so late getting on, if anybody's giving it. Well.
Blame it on me.
But look, what did you, not to be spreading rumors, talking gossip, was
no, it's not. It's not, because it all happened. Yeah, I think at the final whistle, everybody was emotional. I was looking at the players right in front of me, like I mentioned, Darryl Horgan and John Mountney in particular seemed to be inconsolable. The reaction from the shed at that time was, you know, an outpour of emotion more than anything. And Danny was up giving a couple of lads hugs and stuff like that. And, you know, you could see how much it hurt the players. And then they walked over to the main stand and the same sort of reception, you know, the line of kids out for them coming back in, even though, you know, they're relegated. It's a crazy situation when you think about it. Like, there's nobody booing them off the pitch or wherever. It really stands to the fans of this club. But then we're doing our post-match interviews, and Rory and the Rory Higgins and the written press were behind me in a huddle. I had John Daly at that time for my interview, and John Daly actually asked to stop his interview because something had happened in the stands. And you're looking at, you know, I couldn't see exactly who the individuals were, but if this is current owners, past owners, or whatever getting involved, like, you got to just look at the reception that some of the fans just gave, and you got to just remember, you've got to be at least that, or you got to do better. You can't be arguing in the stands. We're talking about this club being at a crisis, this club being on the brink of no longer existing anymore, and yet we've got owners fighting in the stands. Like, come on. If there's national press there at this time as well, it's Dan McDonald is now putting that back out, and the national press is turning around and looking, going, no wonder this fucking club's in an absolute basket case. You're fighting in your own stands now. Like, it's unacceptable behavior. If people cannot conduct themselves in a professional manner, you don't be at the club. And I mean that from whoever was involved in that. That'd be what I would say on it, because right now all eyes are on Dundalk to find out what's going to happen with us. And if we can put our best, like, people go on about the lads in the shed and everything, but just look at the reception that they just gave the players. And yet this is what's going on from people you would expect to be a lot more respectable. Yeah. Yelling things at each other and stuff like that. Like, it's not acceptable from people who are, like, let's call it as it is, because we don't know if current owners are staying at this club. Is individuals still going to be maybe part of plans in the future? We don't know what that is. And if this is what's going on, it just doesn't look good. And from the outside looking back in, we don't need the national to be doing these things in front of the national press. Like, it just goes to show, like, we're talking about too many changes on the playing staff, too many changes on the managerial staff, and yet we've this going on in the main staff. Like, it's ridiculous. And I just think you contrast that with how the fans actually conducted themselves at that time. The fans had every right, who have been there through the good, the bad, and the indifferent at Dundalk Football Club, to be disheartened and hurt that their team has been relegated, but they didn't give that reception tonight. And yet you look at individuals who you would expect to be able to conduct themselves a lot better, and they're not able to do that. I just think, people need to really look themselves in the mirror and just go, what are we actually in this for? And if that answer is not Dundalk Football Club, then step away from the clubs. Do not be getting involved in anything to do with the club. If you cannot put Dundalk Football Club at your heart, then don't be around the club.
Yeah. Yes, Chris. Love it. Donald, it would have been, we kind of joked, well, not joked, but I mean, we was tongue in cheek off air. The two of us were chatting for the main show got here, Chris and Steph. It was where you would sit in the stand. This would have all kind of happened in your vicinity, but like, not to say that it's unusual for that in the stand. It's unusual anyway. It's not like, people say, boys messing with flares, all this kind of crack, but it's like Chris has hit the nail on the head there. It's just not. Look, there is messages out there from people, and there's tweets out there saying what happened. We don't know what happened. We don't know what started. We don't want to speculate what happened. But regardless, if it has started the way we've heard it started, it's disgraceful. It's completely disgraceful. Whatever's going on then, whatever's carried on. Look, I understand, a bit of heightened sensitivity with Dundalk being relegated tonight, but it's just not acceptable. I don't know how many people were left, but if there's kids standing around, or Chris says national press, kids, children going to a game,
there is. Yep.
It's just absolute bullshit. Like, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's like Chris is saying, like, about the national media, like it's not really acceptable in private. Like, it's just a way of behaving in the scenario that we're in. Like, we can't have that kind of thing. I think that obviously we don't know the ins and outs of what happened, how it started, how it ended, any of that sort of stuff. And like, I'm sure we'll hear plenty of bits and pieces from people over the next little while. But I think that's where, like, what Chris said should be the standard. That you have to be able to behave yourselves. You have to be able to conduct yourselves in a manner of that this football club deserves. And like, I know it's you mentioned the Shed lads, like the little thing of them putting a statement out saying we're not bringing flares tonight. Like, that's the last couple of games of putting an effort into making sure that this club continues on. And if people have said stuff about them before about bringing flares when they shouldn't and all that crack, but when the chips are down, they're like, no, lads, we're not doing this. Yeah. They conducted themselves incredibly well and did sing until the very end and stayed after it. And they'll all be there, like, whatever form the club is in the next time we take to the pitch, and forgetting that the 2 games are happening at the end of the season. But like, they'll still be there. And what we want is the club to be represented in that manner. That if fighting in the stand it's just kind of unthinkable, but it's just another step in this season. Like, this is just how this season's coming to an end. Like, absolutely everything has happened, everything's gone wrong, everything's been misery, and this is just a miserable cherry on top of it.
Yeah, well, just to add to what you just said, like, look, we're the laughing stock again. We're like the masters of our own downfall, fighting amongst each other. We've heard so many different groups, and you're hearing he said this or he said that, and people just trying to bring each other down. Like, if everyone just worked together for the betterment of the club, and I mean that in all aspects, not just ownership level. I mean, fans, podcasts, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's, we're coming out with different people trying to, make sure the club's on sound footing for next year, and then other people are trying to do it, and another group, and another, you know what I mean? It's crazy stuff, but like, for a fight to erupt, something like that's probably been bubbling over for a while. I think there's a sort of mentality around Dundalk where, if you're not involved with the football club, there's certain people around that'll take pot shots at the club or won't want it to do well, which is crazy for me. Like, like, every single one of us has probably been involved with the club, have family members or in some capacity. And then, like, as soon as you're not on the inner circle or whatever, like, you don't just be like, I want them to do bad, or you try and take people down that's in the football club. Like, it's mind-boggling for me, like, at times. But just for the fighting in the stand, like, if there was a couple of teenagers fighting in the stand, you'll be talking them off and you'll be saying, childish behaviour. But like, for businessmen, owners, whatever, barristers, whatever they may be, like, for them to be doing it as well, it's just crazy stuff. So, like we said, we're only getting snippets of information. Maybe we'll get some more, but when you hear of what's come out, like, obviously Dan McDonald was there, and he's a credible source as well. So, it's just, maybe it's just taking away a wee bit of the headlines away from us. We're actually relegated, but yeah, it's not a good headline to take it away either. So, yeah.
The other little bit that's in that is that John Daly said he's leaving at the end of the season.
Just caught that myself, don't
I know he mentioned it a while ago that if they got relegated, he'd probably go back home. Which I think was one of those occasions where, like, he was very, very honest about his situation.
Well, that's fair enough.
But yeah,
he mustn't have heard Gally asking him to stay.
That must have been the final.
I think he heard it.
If that fella thinks I
Yeah,
should
he
be here,
heard
get
it.
out.
Yeah, so like it. I think we're all going to have to come to that sort of understanding that 95% of playing staff, coaching staff will be gone, but we'll have to just figure it out as we go, I guess.
Christopher.
Yes,
you have a what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say derelict look on your face. That's not the word I'm looking for. Somebody point me in the right direction. I don't know what the word is. Don't have the words out.
A wonderful look, thank you, Doug.
He's got a wonderful look on his face.
Wonderful, yeah. We've obviously we're not obviously doing a man of the match pizza tonight. We're very aware of the fact that we're in an hour, and some of us have a cup semi-final in the morning. Come on, the bells.
Some of us have a 5-year-old birthday party. That is my daughter's. I'm not going to a rant. I just really should have put that part out.
But Chris, look, you've looked through the comments there. We're just giving random comments, and we'll pick out one that have, and they could grab it. Tony's Pizza and whatever else you fancy yourself on the night before we wrap up the show tonight.
There's loads in from voting me number one to the town end has been the catalyst for the downfall of Dundalk Football Club. But I think we'll go for John's comments that Mullins is the only one making money at Oriel for tonight. So if someone's making money, it's Mullins. So at least somebody is.
Maybe Mullins can buy the club.
You never know.
Yeah, lads, there's spits in Oriel as it is. Let's not go down that road.
Lads, I think that's on a. And obviously, look, we didn't get time to talk probably more about John Daly, and we just heard the news there from Dan McDonald. It was, but look, that's I think probably maybe to be expected. Look, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. And on a sad and probably a somber night for the town, we make a path, hopefully for a club in 2025, but hopefully, we're obviously playing first division, but the most important thing that we still have a club to come and watch first division football with, whether that be for a couple of seasons. Hopefully, it's only 1-2 seasons max. But lads, look, appreciate you coming on, staying so late. Thanks to the podcast sponsors, Donald Greed at Dundalk Village, our gear outfit Playoff Fit, Tony's Pizzeria for the pizza, Steph, Donald, Christopher.
Yes.
We'll see. And Maxie's and Morton Rose will play before the game tonight.
Just before you go,
sorry, Chris, go.
Another reminder of the trust
would
meeting.
You believe I have that written down here? Literally have it written down on my phone to remind people, and I forgot.
Yeah,
so Chris,
just harness, the feelings and everything that people have tonight. It's important then everyone gets up. So there's a public meeting in the town hall next Friday, October the 25th at 7:30. So just get down, like everyone's just said, whether you agree with it or not. Just get down, get an opinion, and get your thoughts on what's there. I think now is the time, no matter what happens, that I feel that us as fans need to be mobilised and get ourselves into a far better position. We can never be sitting back, letting everything happen here and not be able to have an input on what Dundalk Football Club is, and the only way we do that is if we're in an organised manner, and that starts, I believe, with this trust next Friday. So if you can get yourself down, get there, and as I said, come in with an open mind and see if it's something that you're willing to get part of, because I feel that could be the future that we need at Dundalk Football Club.
Here. All good, boys.
Yeah,
that's it. Who knows? We've a couple of ones to go. Who knows? You might be back next year. You never know.
Never know.
If we have a football club, we will be back next year.
Otherwise, we're just doing podcast post match at Steph with Levio.
I don't know. I wouldn't be doing that. I'm done. But Chris and Gally are going to organise a live show in front of a big audience next week for the last home game.
Jesus God. He's put it amongst us there, hasn't he? You never know.
Yeah. Get the Virgin Media cameras on.
Yeah. But look, we go again next week. A couple of weeks to go. We'll see out what has been a difficult season. Lads, appreciate it. Sponsors, appreciate it. Vinny, Tony's Pizzeria. John, to enjoy the pizza. And like I said, Maxie was playing here. Just as I came in tonight, I was running a bit late. Maxie's voice was over the tannoy tonight with Mickey Duffy. And look, in Maxie's words, come on to town.